What's your best effort? I'll do this moment. Thank you for the gold, guys. It's really kind of you. I did and am still willing to answer any questions you have. My girlfriend cheated on me in May. I was so sad because I really loved her. I remember spending hours upon hours online looking for things to cheer me up. I checked an old ML account that lay dormant for a good year or so. It contained a bulletin for expedition vacancies that I had signed up to and saw an ad for a sailing expedition to Greenland. I said fuck it, I'm going. And I did. I spent 4 months sailing from Ireland to Greenland via Iceland and back home. I saw volcanoes, polar bears, ate whale and muskox, caught hundreds of fish, learned to stitch leather and repair sails, got chased down by the Danish Navy, who just wanted to say hi, sledged down a 2,000-meter mountain, and oh, the list goes on. That was the best decision I've made. I've made several bad ones since I got home, but I'm working on it, and hopefully I will be going on a new adventure soon. I can't wait. In labor. Had been in early labor 4 days, and in true labor 7 hours, taking me into a 5th day. I was finally pushing, and I was so tired, but I was so sick of the midwife saying one more push. I was just like, right. This actually will be the last. And with that, I rage pushed my daughter into the world. I was at the celebration of life for a good friend of mine that passed away. There were a solid 300 people there. Everyone was asked if they have any memories they wanted to share or anything they'd like to say, to come up to the stage and speak. Well, everyone was very apprehensive, and I think nervous to be the first one to speak. I have trouble speaking up at my restaurant server meetings, let alone in front of people, but when I saw that no one wanted to start, I felt a little bit of adrenaline run through my legs/arms, gulped the last of my wine, and walked up to the stage. I told a funny/semi-inappropriate story of our youth, and it was a hit. From there, many friends felt less anxiety and started speaking and telling stories. It was a proud moment for me. Switched dissertation topics 5 years into my PhD. New project was my own idea, and very risky as it was a novel idea that no one in my lab, advisor included, had any idea about. Had to buy several components for the experiment, but I figured, fuck it. If I'm wrong after all this work, then academia is not for me. Graduated 2 years later, and I'm about to get a patent on the only single acquisition super resolution imaging system in existence. Still, my proudest moment is when I decided to say, fuck it, I've talked about this long enough, let's do this. When I went to China without a hope or degree, to get a teaching job. I have work in 5 hours. Was not expecting an overwhelming response to this. I will be sure to get to everyone, but I'm at my job teaching English right now, nah ha 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 ha. Back in high school we got to talking to our somewhat attractive female teacher, 6/10, about her dyeing her hair. My friends dared me to ask her if the carpets match the drapes. I literally said fuck it, I'll do it. I go ice, in school suspension, for 2 days. No regrets. I was 12, and out skiing with the school's ski club. My friend and sister found an off-slope trail in the woods. It terrified me from the first look, but my younger sister did it, so I couldn't pussy out of it. Then was my ah fuck it moment. Ended up running into a tree and breaking my leg, but I got to see my bone sticking out of my leg, so that was cool. Cops came and broke up a house party I was at visiting at Rutgers. Friend said it as a joke, but I was hammered and stood on the hood and pissed on their windshield. I got an ovation from the crowd and felt like a total boss. Girl I was interested in falls asleep beside me in my tiny one-room place whilst we were watching some 30 Rock after having already watched Die Hard 3 that night. This is only the second or third time she'd come over like this. Episode finishes. I'm trapped under this girl, so I closed up the laptop with my foot and turned off the speakers. She's still asleep. Since we were sitting across the bed, things are a bit awkward. I try to sleep, but it just doesn't work. I pick her up and turn her around the proper way in the bed, then lay down and try to fall asleep beside her, but with a respectable distance between us. Hours go by. I can't sleep. I'm wondering the whole time if she intended to fall asleep here, or was she just exhausted. I debate with myself whether I should try to make a move or not. Somewhere around 3 or 4 am say fuck it to myself. I lean in and give her a little kiss on the cheek. She responds positively. Cue some very passionate making out over the next who knows how long. Turned out she'd fallen asleep on purpose and had been waiting for me to make a move all night. We've now been together 16 months and are planning to get married next year sometime. Great success. In late 2010, my friend asked me if I wanted to do a through hike of the Appalachian Trail. At that point in my life, I was a college dropout waiting tables at 2 restaurants. I was unsure about what I wanted out of life. I have absolutely no motivation to do anything besides sit around and smoke pot. When he asked me to do this 2181-mile hike, which takes 4 to 6 months to complete on average, I had very minimal hiking experience. But I agreed to go, with no real expectations to finish, just to get out of town for a while and get some fresh air. We started on March 19th, 2011, and I finished on September 18th of that year. He finished on August 14th. I made many lifelong friends, saw many beautiful sights, and learned a lot about myself that I didn't know. I never knew I had the mental capacity to complete something as hard as that. Now, I'm back in school and know exactly where I want to be in life. Because I said, fuck it, I'll go. I've grown to be a stronger human being, in my eyes. It was by far the best decision I ever made. On a drunk night out, me and some friends of mine messed around on the grounds of a school in the town we were in. We climbed up onto the roof following a friend who attended the school and knew how to get up safely. We got up onto the 3rd story level to discover the scaffolding he used to climb down before had been removed. The choice was spend an hour painstakingly clambering to the other side of the building to climb down easily, or try and make the jump from the roof we were on to a 2nd story building opposite. Drunken confidence overcame my nerves and I took a run up and made the jump successfully, even landed with a sweet commando roll. To this date the most dangerous thing I've ever done. TL. Doctor, I'm an acrobat when drunk. Eventually nothing happened, but it was such a moment. A friend of my father who is Turkish was having a fierce discussion with a group of Kurds, like 7 guys. It looked like this was going to get physical between them. My dad and I both have beers in our hands, and as we sense it's going to get violent we both at the same time put our beers down on the table. The moment that we accepted that we were going to fight 3 vs 7 very much felt like a fuck it, I'll do this moment. Eventually the Kurds just buggered off, but I did make my old man proud. Through a truly stupid series of circumstances, I fell in a very cold creek on the outskirts of my hometown in the presence of my best high school buddy. It was partially his fault. That's my story. Anyway, I'm drenched and cold. We get back to my car, and I open my trunk, hoping I've got another coat in there. Nope. All I've got is this ugly ass long sleeve button up silk shirt. Why? Because it was fucking 1993, that's why. Now I've got cloth seats in my little late 80s Nissan, so I'm not getting in the car soaking wet. And anything has been better than being cold and wet, so I proceed to strip naked, then wrap the silk shirt around me and tie the arms together around my back. It's like an ugly, long-sleeved loincloth. I use the windows to sort of pin my clothes to the outside of the car, hoping the wind will dry them out a bit. That's right. All my clothes, undies included, are now on the outside of my car. I get in the car and start to warm up. My friend is almost pissing himself laughing at this scenario. He asks me if I'm actually going to drive like this, to which I say, you bet your ass I am. As we're getting into town, I look at my fuel gauge and chuckle. Hey, man, guess what? What? We're almost out of gas. He frowns. Oh, shit, man. Let me get out and pump. Oh, no, dude. I've got this. We cruise right down Main Street, passing not one, but 2 of our high school cheerleaders on the way. We stop at the gas station at the end of the street and I proudly stand at the pump in my loincloth, waving at the people who honk and point. My friend has ducked as low as he can in the seat to avoid being seen. We get to my friend's house and here I'm walking in with my still wet clothes in my supple, silk loincloth that I'm starting to kinda like. My friend's mom takes one look at me and says, I don't want to know, then turns and walks away. We were at our high school's field day, and that year we happened to go to a beach. About an hour or so in, some guys who were playing football throw the football about 30 feet into the water. Due to the fact that we live in Washington and the water was cold, no one brought swimming material. The dude who brought the ball is freaking out as it was signed by some famous football player. Enter me. I decide, fuck it, I'll do this, and swim in after the ball, which at this point was about 40 feet in. Before I go into the freezing water, I decide to take off my shoes and my phone out of my pocket. I neglected to consider my wallet or the fact that I was wearing skinny jeans and a t-shirt. Despite that, I swim out to retrieve the football, succeed, and return to shore. Guy thanks me and goes back to his game. Well, fuck. My clothes are drenched in water, roughly $30 in bills are now soaked, and I have nothing to change into. For 20 minutes, I walk around in wet clothes asking around to see if I could borrow extra attire from anyone. I get a pair of girls' pink yoga pants. I fucking rock those yoga pants. My senior year of high school, I fell head over heels in puppy love with possibly the most crushed on boy in school. He was on the football team. He was one of the homecoming princes. He was lead in the school play and musical. He was editor-in-chief of the school paper. Valentine's Day was the last day the musical would run. I think it was The Ugly Duckling, but I'm not sure. And I was backstage doing lights with one of my best friends who knew about my crush. He was doing sound. Near the end of the musical, when the cast was gathering to take a final bow, he moved this rope that kept the crew from walking where we'd be visible, looked at me, and pointed his head toward the stage. I got in a lot of trouble with the theater director and never worked on a play again in high school, but with my legs shaking so hard I was surprised I didn't fall. I walked up to him and kissed him on the cheek. We only went out for 3 days and 2 dates before he had to leave for the Navy, but whenever I'm scared, I tell myself it can't be worse than kissing your crush in front of your classmates. Went to a party, met a cute girl. After it was over I took her back to my place. Things quickly led to another. I tried to go down on her, so I took off her pants then panties, only to find out she's on her period. Fuck it, I'll do this. Definitely a different experience knowing. Well, yeah, no. I'd been staring at this girl in my class for months. Ever since I saw her for the first time I knew the day would come when I'd be hopelessly in love with her, but wouldn't be able to do anything but watch her being talked to by all the douchebags who obviously thought she was hot and eventually starting to date one of them. Then one day we were left alone in a room for about 15 minutes, and I thought exactly this. Fuck it, I'll do this. I hadn't prepared for that moment and I didn't have a little speech or a plan. I just spilled my little heart out to her. Told her everything and all about exactly how I feel. No games, no playing hard to get, no beating around the bush. We are now together and both hopelessly in love with each other. That was the best decision I've ever made, and I still can't get my head around how and why did it actually work. I can't believe that it did, but I couldn't be happier about it. I just drove home from a 4-hour dental procedure, 8 fillings and a crown. I was high out of my mind and thought, I'm so tired of the plywood subfloor in the bathroom. If I don't lay that self-leveling compound right now, it is just never going to get done. Fast forward to fiance coming home as I'm drooling all over myself like crazy and pouring concrete. He was a little more than worried. When I got my tax return right after graduating college and decided to blow it all at once on a 1,300-mile long-distance unsupported bicycle tour, so many people, including on Reddit, said it was irresponsible. Well, it was the best thing I ever did, and now I'm gainfully employed and suffered no consequences except having done something I can be immensely proud of. Every family has their problems, but shit hit the fan with mine. I didn't have much money, but I ditched everything and booked a ticket to Thailand where I ended up living for a summer. I recently picked up kickboxing, and as someone who does not drink or do drugs I just figured I would train twice a day while I enjoyed getting in the best shape of my life. It just started out as training until one of my trainers suggested I should actually do a professional fight. I just went along with it, and it didn't seem that big of a deal accepting the offer then and there. They took a quick photo of me and whatever continued training. The gym was located on the outskirts of town, so me and some Aussie training buddies suggested that we go into town, get some food and hit the beaches. That fucking photo they took of me was all over town. On buses, billboards, magazine pamphlets. It was crazy. It was like I was in a dream in some foreign world where everyone instantly respected me all because I was fighting on this card. Mind you, I have no competitive history. I did not even do any high school sports, and in my opinion I don't think I'm that athletic. Anyways, 2 weeks later, after training X2 every day, fight day comes around at Patton Stadium and I just about shit my fucking pants. My opponent is a native Thai with 81 fights and is 28. I'm 19 years old, skinny ass white kid about to go to war, and all I want to do is cry like a little girl. Right before I walked out, the spectators place bets and touch you up like some gladiator about to get murdered. At that moment, as soon as I touch that ring, fuck it, I'm fighting as hard as I can, and I'm going the fucking distance, win or lose. I just figured this guy will have to kill me to end it early. I lost. No surprise, my opponent was a veteran compared to me being my first fight. However, I went all 5 rounds and fought hard for 15 minutes. Keep your hands up and keep pushing forward in the ring and in life. Best fuck it moment I think I'll have. Friend asked me if I wanted to travel Canada. I just finished school, paid the last month of rent on my lease, and had $50.00 in my bank account. Fuck it, I'll do this. Left Halifax NS, East Coast, in August. My friend decided to stay and work in Ontario, so I'm stuck in Ontario. I get a job to make some money on a farm which also provided me accommodations. I get my first paycheck and thought fuck it, I'll do this, and got a Greyhound further west by myself. I'm currently about 5,000 kilometers from home, living in Calgary, and I'm about to start heading home for Christmas. TLDR, traveled 5,000 kilometers on a whim with $50.